So let's head back here. Those are the different levels. Then going down, we can create a new ad here. This is nothing new, right? We've done this before. And then we have a bunch of different options here. We're not gonna be playing around with these for now because all of these, like duplicating, editing, A/B testing, even using rules, exporting, tagging, all of those things we're gonna dive deeper in the upcoming lectures, all right? So we're gonna leave them for now. Couple of different options. We can view our setup. Basically, view setup just means getting some more basic information about our campaign, our asset, and our ads. So one of the benefits here is that if you have set things up with a campaign ID in your Google Analytics with the URL, well, then this is the easiest way to get that campaign ID just to match them, right? But if you don't want this kind of information to simplify, then you can just click on view setup like this, and all of that information is going to disappear. So then we also have different columns. So what are columns? Well, columns are the ones that we're seeing right here. We can see the bid strategy we're using, the budget we're using, the results we're getting, and of course, if I just open this up, we can see this is landing page view and the results. The reach, the impression, the cost per result, the amount spent, its ongoing frequency, we get a lot of good stuff. The thing is that there are so many different columns that we are going to want to use depending on the occasion. So for example, if we are selling an e-commerce product, well, then we probably want to know of all the people that added our product to carts. So if we want to track that kind of information, we would need to click on columns here, and then we would need to add it manually because it's not in here. So we would go to customize columns right down here, click there, and then we're gonna get this up. It looks big and scary, but it's actually very simple. And then I just search add to cart, just like this, and then we get add to cart. And do you want the unique add to cart, the value, the cost, the unique cost? No, we just want the total amount of add to carts. I'm gonna click there, and what happens is that all of these columns are the ones that are going to be displaying. Scrolling down, we can see that, okay, add to carts are actually on the bottom right now, all the way back. Do we want website add to carts or on Facebook add to carts? I'm gonna remove on Facebook add to carts and just use website add to carts. Now, if I want it further ahead, I can just drag and drop it further ahead. If I'm happy with it in the back, I just leave it there. I click on apply, just like this. And now if I go all the way to the back here, we can see website add to cart, and we're gonna get that statistics. So of course, we're gonna need some more Facebook Pixel event setup in order to properly track the adds to cart, but we are gonna learn how to do that in a later lecture. This is just understanding Ads Manager. So if I want to remove this, I just go back, I go to customize columns just like this, scroll all the way down, and then I just click on the crosshair and remove it just like this and click on apply. And realize that there's so many more things you could search for and go through, but chances are you're not going to need to play with that too much. Now what we can also do is we can look at different things, like if we have video, if we're releasing a video ad, we can click on video engagement here, and we're going to get completely different columns, right? We get to see the impressions, the 2-second continuous video plays, the 3-second video plays, cost per through play, reach, video plays at 25%, all of this very interesting information. So these are more like templates with filters, or rather templates with columns that you can use depending on what you're looking for. Most of the time though, you're just gonna want to use the performance default. And if you want to add anything to that default, you just click on customize columns and then you add it in, right? So that is understanding the column. Then we also have breakdown, but breakdown we're gonna go through in a separate lecture because that has a little bit more to it. And then we have reports, and reports are actually really handy, especially if you are an agency or you're working for an agency. So you can export table data. So when you have a lot of information and you want to export that information to someone else, maybe show the company you're working for how things are going, or maybe you want to share some information with other freelancers or with other advertisers, whatever it might be, you can export the table data. You can do a custom report, decide on one you want to keep. You could share a link to it. You can decide which reports that you want to have a look at first, the ad set, age and gender. If you want to go into some other level, you can do that. So you can get very detailed in your reporting when you export it. All right. Now, going to the right, we can also see that very basic, like we spoke about before, we can turn this on and off. We also can view, chart, edit, and duplicate, and we're going to go through these more in detail as well. Now, what we also can do is change the name like I showed you in here. And then as we go, we're going to learn how to read all of this information more and more as we start going through different strategies. So now we've pretty much gotten the gist of the Ads Manager, right? There's one more section to this, and that is actually the account overview section. So if you click here on the account overview section, you're gonna see that it's not too exciting right now because, well, things aren't really going on. We haven't gotten started, so we haven't gathered any information. However, if we do that on this account as well, this actually been going on before. We've been running some ads. We have multiple ads accounts because we've had multiple stores and multiple websites. And then I click in here, which is known as the account overview. You get a lot of interesting information specifically for this entire account, right? You can see the reach, you can see the amount we've spent, the impressions, we can see the total link clicks, etc. And starting from the very top, you can see that we have the account spending limit that we're showing. We set 200. We haven't really reached it here. We can change it. We can go to manage billing and everything. We also have something known as the learning phase. Now, the learning phase is very interesting because this is the pixel that is learning and taking the information from the customers that are visiting your website or wherever you're driving them and learning more about your goal and learning more about your audience, right? So when you release an ad, at least in the beginning, give it at least 3 days for it to optimize before you look and say, hey, the results are too bad, or I'm not trusting this, or I'm not trusting that. Give it at least 3 days. This rule may change as we go through the strategies, but as a beginner rule, definitely, whenever you release an ad, give it 3 days and then judge by those results. All right, it's a really good ground rule because you're gonna see that the learning goes up, and as the learning goes up from the pixel and from Facebook ads, your results are going to be going up as well, and that's the learning phase. Very important. Now, going back to account spending limit, we get a lot of very important information. We can dissect it, we can see it through a timetable here. Now, this is an older account that I'm looking at right now, so it's nothing too exciting on the chart, right? But it definitely could be. We could also change what we're looking for, maybe website leads, website purchases. If that's what was interesting for us, we could see the total of that. Scrolling down, we can also see what is the objective. We have the campaigns, the results we've gotten, the cost per result, the age and gender from the audience that we have been using. Now realize this is of course going to depend on who you're targeting, but if you're targeting both genders, for example, and you see that 91% are men, well, that's gonna say a lot, isn't it? That kind of shows you how you want to target later on. You can see age and gender, you can break it down by just the age, by just the gender, etc. And this is also what we spoke about before with the standard delivery, meaning we don't want to accelerate our delivery. We want to deliver our ad throughout the day because then we can see when is it the most popular, right? We can see between 9 and 10 p.m. we're having kind of a peak here. And we can see that at around 3 to 4 a.m. things aren't going so well. So if you really want to optimize, you could also then start breaking down at, okay, how much am I spending at which point? You can see that we're actually spending a lot of money here. But you could also see that, hey, we're getting similar reach here, but we're actually spending much less. So that might mean that, okay, between 9 and 10 p.m., there's a lot more advertisers who are advertising at a higher bid. So I am actually going to turn my ad off at this point and spend more of my ads in here. So I could increase my budget and spend more here because we can see that the reach is still 2,921. The reach is 2,700 here. But the spending is $9 here, the spending is $17 here. So some advertisers really go into the nitty-gritty with the time, which is very effective to do if you know what you're doing, but just understand, when am I spending the most? If it is here, I probably want to cut back if I'm on a budget. But if I'm getting the best results here, I might actually want to increase. Do you see how you can start to micromanage and dive deep into the data that you're getting? And this is the art and skill between really learning and understanding Facebook ads in a professional level. Understand these minute details. So that's what we're going to be learning as we go. Scrolling down, we also have the location. Well, we've been quite restrictive in where we have been targeting for locations. You can see that on the map. And then you can see the account name. If there were multiple accounts, then you would be seeing those. And then finally, going to the left, this was the overview. We also have creative reporting. The creative is the ad design. So we can see which are the designs that have been performing the best. We could play with the columns, breakdown, report once again, but we can also just see here, like this one has gotten 80 results. This one has gotten 80 results as well. This one has gotten 30. What is the reach? What is the impression? And then something which we are going to keep a very close eye on is going to be the cost per result. Because look at this. Here we have the cost per result for 80 link clicks, which is $1.09. That is pretty big if you compare that we have 80 link clicks here, but those cost per result are $0.17. That is 17 cents. So that means that this is almost 10 times as expensive per link click. That doesn't automatically mean that this is cheaper, it's better. But if you are getting the same amount of purchases on these, and you know that these link clicks are 10 times cheaper, well, now you have some solid data and you understand how to optimize your ads. And this is the approach you want to take when you're doing your ad. You are both an artist, but you're also a scientist. It makes it tricky, but it also makes it exciting. Just stay consistent in the learning, things are gonna go great. So this is where we have all of this information. And if you want to go back, you go to the left here, you click on campaigns, and then we end up right back to where we started. So what we're going to do right now is that we're going to be taking a closer look on a lot of these different options that we have in order to micromanage and macro manage our ads, right? And the first thing that we're going to look at is something known as view charts. You can do that at an individual level on the campaigns, on the ad set, and on the ads. Very important to know how to in order to gather more data and optimize. So see you in the next lecture.